Now, I'm not a great baker or even a great cook because I don't like following recipes. As a matter of fact, when I cook, when my family is done and they say, "That was great. When can we have it again?" I'm like, "This is it. This is it. We're not having it ever again because I'll literally just kind of threw it together." That creates zero consistency. Zero. Well, sales works the same way. A reliable recipe ensures that you're going to get consistent results. And when you get consistent results, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde side of the business, it goes away. So when we talk about recipes, we all know it boils down to ingredients. You got to know what the ingredients are. As a matter of fact, when you look at a recipe, what's the first thing at the top? Ingredients. The second thing is that every ingredient has a quantity. Hey, right? Like you got to have the right amount of particular ingredients. And then lastly, oh, and this, I tell you, 90% of the time is why most of y'all feel pushy. It is because you don't follow the order. Where are my bakers out there? Where are you? If you're a baker, type in the comments. Bakers, you know this to be true. Order, listen, if you don't put things in the right order, you are going to have problems. So let's tackle these things one at a time. Ingredients. This is my favorite conversation because there are reasons you're feeling pushy. There are reasons you can't sell. And a lot of times it's because you don't actually even know what all the ingredients are. Sales is one of the only lines of work that I think produces a huge amount of money, but has the least amount of training up front. Like, you can pretty much get a sales job anywhere, which makes me crazy because I really believe you're doing people a disservice when you do not train them really, really well on how to sell. People act like sales is really natural and it's really not. So, if you've never actually sat down and had someone explain the ingredients to you, let's start with a few things. The first ingredient is definitely connection. Got to have connection. I know. No one told you. The second is you have to have clarity. You have to have a clear message. People have to easily be able to understand what it is you sell and how it helps them. The third thing, confidence. You've got to relay confidence and you have to instill confidence in your prospects and customers. And the fourth is curiosity. So, connection, clarity, confidence, and curiosity. One of those is typically missing when your sales aren't going the way you want. And the end result is you just can't figure out how to make it work. And too many entrepreneurs skip the basics because you think like, hey, I'm going to try to sell you these. And so I'm going to go from this is what I'm selling to this is the price you should buy. There's a whole lot of steps in between there that you just missed out on. The other part is when you don't have the right ingredients, right? Sometimes it's because you have decided you're just not down with that. I I have talked to so many salespeople, and when we go through their ingredients, I'm like, well, what about the eggs? And they're like, I don't like eggs. And I'm like, huh, how's that working out for you? All the ingredients matter. You have to have every single one of them, or else you're going to get something that looks like mud instead of brownies. So you've got to get in the habit of evaluating your sales processes and asking yourselves, did I have all the right ingredients? And it would be super non human of you to say, every time I always do. We all struggle from time to time. We all jump. We all miss things. It's okay. But the key to having a recipe is understanding how to figure out where things went wrong and which ingredients you're lacking. Now, if you struggle with where your gaps are, there is a video on my YouTube channel and also in the podcast about how to uncover your blind spots. And I'll leave that link in the show notes for you. So, ingredients matter. The second is quantity. Quantity matters. You got to have the right amount of the things. Like I go back to the eggs in the recipe. Sometimes people do have all the ingredients, but you know what they didn't do? They didn't follow the right quantity. Listen, bakers, where are my bakers? Oh my gosh. If it says a quarter or an eighth of a teaspoon, you better use just that little bit. You better. Otherwise, you're going to get something a little different. A lot of times, what happens is people don't spend enough quantity in their sales cycle. In other words, I don't want to spend time developing a relationship. One of my favorite things to hear from people is, "Well, when can I stop developing the relationship?" In other words, I don't want the quantity of developing, creating trust. I actually want the sale. You can't do that. You absolutely positively have to follow the quantity. The quantity. And trust is a huge there has to be a lot of trust. That is by far the biggest part of the quantity component. Connection. And again, people struggle with this. And I'm here to tell you in all sincerity and as kindly as I can, if you don't want to create trust and you don't want to create connection, you better go get a sales job where people line up and you sell them something and they leave and you never see them again. And I mean that in all honesty. Like get a job at Starbucks where all you have to do is take an order and give people a cup. If you don't want to create trust, if you don't want to have that relationship, sales may not be for you. The last is order. Now, this is a big one. And as I said, I think I said 90% of why people have trouble selling anything to anyone without feeling pushy is order. And you know that's you if you're always thinking about how do I get them to buy? How can I create the sale right now? Like it's the whole I'm selling this, you should buy it now. Wrong order. And if you've ever baked and totally screwed up the order, you know it is catastrophic to the recipe. Maybe what you're doing out of order is you're asking for a very big commitment way too soon in the process. Wrong order. If you're leading with discounts instead of value, ah, and I know it feels easy because in our heads, we think the outcome is a sale. The truth is, the sale is a byproduct of the outcome of creating trust and connection in a relationship. So if you're closing before you create connection, wrong order. If you're selling with discount before you've actually talked about value, wrong order. If you're leading with the price over and over and over again, wrong order. Now, it's not about spammy scripts or hacks. Like, I hope that's what you're seeing. It's about showing up like you. And hopefully that means someone people can trust. So let's talk a little bit now about how the chef has to show up when baking or cooking. The first thing you have to monitor is your energy because energy does matter. Like I have trained a million times on sales and I'll have two people come up to me. This person, confident. This person, super likable. This person, struggling. And it's really, really clear when you talk to them. They are struggling or they're stuck in hustle mode. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Does my energy communicate help or does my energy communicate hustle? Am I leading or am I pleading? Am I serving or am I being sleazy? I want you to always be thinking about here's how I can help, not here's how I can close. Here's how I can help. Let's also go on to talk about leading with curiosity and not pressure. Pressure kills trust. I'm going to say it again. Pressure kills trust. And when you pressure a prospect, are you ready to join? today's a good day to join. It ends today. You got to do this. And when it's all about push, 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 you are creating pressure. And the number one killer of your trust and all your hard work is you actually applying too much pressure. So when we talk about, well, what am I supposed to do then? The answer is you have to just trade that pressure in for curiosity. So your first question shouldn't be, are you ready to join today? Oh, and here's a small little side note. You've got to learn how to ask questions without sounding like an interrogation. Some of y'all are so literal. The minute I say start asking questions, you write out all your questions and you ask them like in machine gun rapid fire sequence. And it's not that at all. I mean, I want you to think about, well, if I'm here with the right energy, which is confidence and trust, and really what I want to do is help to transform people's lives. And I don't really want just a transaction with them. And I really do think this is the heart of it. You've got to take some responsibility for being curious about how to ensure they get the best results. You guys, right now, there's a trust recession. People are really skeptical. And your biggest advantage is not only yourself, but it is the degree to which you can personalize the experience for your prospect. So, if you're going to help someone transform, doesn't it make sense that you would know, like, where did you come from? What have you tried? Did it work? What didn't work for you? And definitely not that fast. So I want you to think about how simple it is to just simply ask questions like, well, what's been the hardest part of this for all of you? What's been the hardest part about not having enough sales? What's been the hardest part about not being able to stabilize your weight? What's been the hardest part about not feeling great every day? What's been the hardest part about not having consistent sales? So, we're going to have a conversation that brings both the prospect and myself to the same exact heartfelt starting point. You can ask things like, well, what would change if we could actually solve this problem? Have you looked into the future and ever asked yourself what your life would look like if you could fix this? I'm just curious. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important would it be for you to solve this problem? And I also want to know, what would your life look like if you actually solved that problem? Also, curiosity could be, tell me what you've tried before. Tell me all the things. Hey, in order to ensure that I actually put you on the right discovery path, can you share a little bit with me about what you've already tried? And tell me what worked, what didn't, how long it worked. I mean, give me the whole like download, because curiosity builds connection. Pressure kills it. Pressure kills trust, but connection, it's the antidote, because curiosity builds connection, and connection builds safety, and safety, well, safety creates sales. Because if I'm being honest with you, people don't buy the best products. They buy from the person that makes them feel the safest. They actually buy from the person who they want to go on the transformational journey with, which means that you have to get yourself into a service mode instead of a selling mode. We've talked about curiosity. We've talked about energy, and energy actually ties into belief. We've talked about that. But what we haven't talked about is a very important component, which is make every step easy. Biggest problem I see, and this goes down to both quantity and order in the recipe, is salespeople don't make it easy for people to say yes to a next step. I mean, if the conversation is, and it is, how to sell anything to anyone without being pushy, then you've got to take the time and do the work to figure out what's the next safe step. How can I reduce friction? How can I keep things smooth and make sure that the next step is natural? The next step is rarely, let's get the paperwork and get things started. The next step is rarely, well, let me tell you the pricing and let's just decide. The next step is rarely, go ahead and get your credit card and I'll take your order. There are lots of little steps in between that continue to build and create connection and trust. When you have those small steps laid out and it feels natural and it makes sense. Like your prospect should be thinking, of course, that's the next step. Yes, I will say yes to a quick 10-minute meeting with you. I will say yes to watching a 3-minute video. I will say yes to meeting you for coffee for 15 minutes. Like whatever that next step is, it's got to feel appropriate for where you are in the process. And I have one last foundational part of the chef's code for recipe following, and that is just try your hardest not to make it weird. Don't make it weird. I call this the ancestral advice, right? There are times that people cook and they're like, "How much are you putting in there?" And they're like, "I don't know. I'm just like tuning into the ancestors." Listen, my mom would always say, there are parts of the recipe that you follow, and there are other parts that you just feel. And feeling is a huge part of selling. If you don't make it weird, if every step is designed to make it safe for your customers and your prospects, you'll have more sales than you even know what to do with. You can explore so many more of my strategies on my YouTube channel or my podcast. Make sure if you're listening to the podcast that you hit subscribe and go ahead and leave a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and also hit that like button. Now that you know how to sell anything to anyone without being pushy, your next step is to learn to do it without burning out, y'all. And that's what we're doing inside the Savvy Selling Lounge. It's a place where you are going to transform everything you ever thought you knew about selling. And if you're a network marketer, this includes you because I'm here to tell you a lot of good work to be done there. But I don't know where all that training is coming from, all that spammy, weird stuff that we all see. Sorry. Did I say that with my out loud voice? I think I did. All right. I'd like to help you all, every single one of you, with truly the most impactful gift I can, which is a 7-day transformation inside the Savvy Selling Lounge. This isn't about you getting in there and checking it out and seeing if it might be a thing for you. It's about you and 7 days. And I will transform exactly everything you hate about selling into a process that feels good and like you. So I have a link for you in the show notes. In addition, take a minute to sign up for my weekly letter where we tackle one small little shift you need to make every single week. Because at the end of the year, if you've consistently made progress in small ways, your energy, your recipe, everything is going to just be so much better. Be sure to share this with someone you know. Go ahead and make sure you pass it along because that's how we keep this free and help you continue to get savvy advice. Super excited to have you here. Can't wait to have you on the next episode.